Hi, I'm Akua jazz soul vocalist from Washington, D.C., and I'm happy to have my album out. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C., uptown Northwest. I was born in Howard University Hospital. I went to a private African centered school called Nation House. From 2.5 through high school, graduated. My parents started the school with some colleagues of theirs and went on to Howard University and graduated with my Bachelor of Fine Arts in jazz vocals and went back for my master's in social work, mental health. My family, they are my roots, my foundation. I was raised as an African woman, although I was born in America. My parents were both born in America and raised in America. My mom and dad were both born in Mississippi. Dad from Columbus and my mom is from Greenville. And then they both moved, their families moved to Miami, Florida. Happened to move around the corner from each other. And we kind of grew up from then. We're together from then, 13 till today. And then they both went to Howard University, and thus I went to Howard University. I'm a Bison. And so they raised me and my brothers and sisters in African culture, particularly West African culture. So I grew up dancing, doing African dance, and learning African music and singing it. My dad is a musician. He got his degree in music education from Howard University. So music was, it's kind of intrinsic in me. It wasn't a thought. I had to do it. So I did not go to school initially for music, but it took over, and it has taken over ever since. And so my background being in African culture, steeped in African culture, it kind of comes out in my music naturally, and it's not something that I necessarily intend to do, but it's something I gravitate towards. I see myself and all artists as a muse of music, as a vehicle through which music comes and message comes through. So I do my best to allow it to come through, and generally all those Pan-African rhythms come through. Jazz being my foundation comes through. Soul music and R&B, my influences span the gamut. Anything that is black music will come through, and outside of black music as well. It just kind of edges on in there. Music has always been around me. My dad, like I said, my dad is a musician, and he had a band called Nation. So I grew up with them practicing in the basement and thinking of different ways to present music. He was my first music teacher, so music was also at school with me. Since he was one of the founders of the school I went to, he would open up in the morning and he would play his saxophone every morning. And so we would run around in the morning before school as he played his saxophone. So I mean, I was born into it. It was in utero. Music was always around me, and the arts were always around me. Some of my most vivid memories are dancing to my parents' record player, listening to Nancy Wilson, huge influence, Sarah Vaughan, Nina Simone, big deal, Miriam Makeba, Hugh Masekela, Olatunji from West Africa. I mean, it just spans the gamut. Stevie Wonder, oh my God. Hot as July, isn't that it? That album, man, the Jackson 5, Aretha Franklin, Bill Withers. It spans the gamut. It was everything. Earth, Wind and Fire. A lot of soul music, a lot of R&B. The Supremes. My mom was a big Diana Ross fan. So I mean, it was everything, and the blues is a big deal too. My grandmother is a big blues fan, and I think they kind of stuck with me. My dad too. Muddy Waters and B.B. King, and one of my favorites is Howlin' Wolf. Etta James, all of it, anything that they had, we would play it, and I would just dance and just it was becoming a part of me, and I had no idea because I thought I was going to be a doctor. This is my third album. This album in particular is really special to me because about 95% of it is my original music. I collaborated on a couple of tunes with a good friend of mine who was the MD of the album, Chris Funn, and I had some special guests on there. I mean, the band is outstanding that's on the album. I have Warren Wolf on keys, Corey Fonville on drums, Chris Funn on bass. He also, like I said, he was the musical director of the album. I have Brent Burkhead on saxophone, and a friend of mine, Dre King, he did the horns on a few tunes, and special guest, Nicholas Payton is featured on there, and that was a big deal. And plus my ultimate favorite, my students, the Nation House Youth Vocal Ensemble. They really put the spirit into the album. Made me cry on that last tune.
What was it like having your dad play on the record?
Oh, my dad was a big deal. He was another special guest. I had to convince my dad about 2 years in advance to get ready. Dad, you're gonna be on my album, so I need you to shed because I don't want you to freak out when we go into the studio. And he would just always look at me like, Akua, because he's not performing anymore, so it's always me who's pulling him back into it. So that was really a great opportunity to have him on my album, and particularly on the song that I wrote, Red Bark, which has a deep meaning. On that song, you can really hear the Pan-African influences in there. You'll hear some Shona rhythms from Southern East Africa, from Zimbabwe. You'll hear Haitian influences. You'll hear the Southern blues influence. You'll hear jazz influence. It's a conglomeration, which is really who I am and really what my music is. And for my dad to be the featured artist on there, it kind of brings it all together because he's the one who brought me to this. Oh yes, my percussionist, my brother Ajay Osei Hargrove. I love him. He also doubles as my bodyguard. And Farai Malianga, he plays the cajon. Really good friend, really good family friend. Just amazing energies. I mean, the whole band, the energy, the vibe was outstanding. The thing about this album is some of the songs I wrote maybe about 10 years ago, and then some I wrote maybe about 2 to 3 weeks before I recorded it. So it just was when me and Chris got together and I asked him to help me figure out which tunes made the most sense going together with the album. I would put out these different ideas of all these different songs, and then I would finish them, and he would help me arrange them in a way that they all fit together. So it was one of those, okay, Kuya, sit down and focus and get it together because you're really going to do this. So this was an album that I've been thinking about for several years. So the recording part was the end, the culmination of the getting the music together. So it's really a special album to me. I'm excited about it. I think because in my heart I play bass, right? So it only makes sense for the bass to be such a significant part of my music. Bass and drums, I kind of feel like they are the heartbeat of my music. Drums being just that spiritual connection, but the bass is like your heart, you know. So voice and bass make sense in my mind. So I do a lot of duo things and some trio arrangements that I feel like it brings the music out in a very raw and honest way. Let her take you in her. Asuo. Asuo is my homage to the water energy, the energy of the waters. The in my belief system, Asuo is the spirit of the water, and it's very soothing. It's very calming. And I oftentimes need to call on that energy to bring me balance and to bring me inspiration. And so that's my kind of prayer song that I wrote in homage to the water energy. I've got something to say. That's one of those songs I wrote about a week before I recorded, and it just came out. It just came out, and we went with it. And I said, "Hey, can you play this?" And Chris played it, and I sang it, and I was like, "That's it. That's going on the album." And we did it trio, and it was perfect. And then Dre put those horns on it, and it just exploded. It still blows my mind when I listen to it. Yeah, I think it's so to the point. I do have something to say, and I think it's really important as an artist to just go with that. Sometimes you're inspired by what's going on in the world, and oftentimes it's easy to be distracted by what other people want and what other people want you to say. But you know, God and ancestors and energies are talking to you, and I feel like you're supposed to say it. And so that's my song. I got something to say. You might not like it, but you're gonna remember it. Oh, can't seem to get you off my mind. That's an interesting one. That's a collaboration between myself and Chris Fun. I asked Chris, this is a few years back, I asked him to send me a bass line. I was like, send me a bass line, I'm trying to write this music. And again, this is when I was thinking about recording this next album. And he sent me a bass line, and I was like, man, this is a bad bass line. What am I going to sing over this? And I just started singing. And the lyrics came out, and the melody came out, and it was a song. It wasn't something I really thought really hard about. I heard it and was inspired, and we went with it. Oh my goodness, Take My Time. That's my baby maker song. I always say that to my husband. It's just one of those really straightforward, sexy songs that is. I think it's important to have a ballad that just gets right to the point, gets right to your heart, and just makes you stop and pay attention. You know, you got to take your time with that one. You can't rush and listen to that song. You got to stop and listen and drink a cup of tea or a glass of wine and just let it go. Let it go. Oh man, Calm Before the Storm. Again, I wrote that one. I think I wrote that one about 7 years ago, and you know, that is one of those songs that speaks to my inspiration as an artist and my fear of where I'm going to go with the energy that I'm given as an artist. You know, a lot of times our brains, they don't stop. The music doesn't stop. And you're just like, oh my God. So it was one of those songs I wrote not knowing what comes next. And so I had to say that. And that's where the song comes from. And in writing it, it was another one of those songs. It's kind of like a prayer, just being faithful that somebody and something is carrying me where I need to go, and to just trust it. Shot of Sugar. It's another sweet love song. You know, you gotta have those love songs. But it's also it's a bittersweet kind of song, where you've loved and you've lost, but you don't regret losing it and you don't regret having it. And I think the arrangement of it is so cool that it's kind of funky and sexy at the same time, which can be, relationships can be real funky, but they can be really, really sweet. And just not really having regrets, and just going with it. Rosie is special to me because that is a traditional work song that I wanted to record it as an homage to Black men, particularly in America, and the experience that they've had. So that one is kind of a dedication to my father, my father's fathers, my grandfathers, especially in the South. Those prisons, which is, it's still going on now, but Rosie is one of those songs. It's a work song, and it's near and dear to my heart. I love it. Yeah, Red Bark is one of my favorites. That one is deep. That one always gets me dancing. When I'm singing it, I go someplace else with it. It was written, again, about the artist's experience. A lot of people know about the story of how the blues started, where they were at the crossroads and had to speak to the devil. That's the Americanized version, but traditionally that crossroads is represented by an energy, and he's called different things in different cultures, but one of the names is Elegba in Western and West Africa, as well as Tigare. And so that's one of my songs where I'm speaking to that energy directly. Don't leave me here at the crossroads, push me forward, show me the right way to go. And so it's another spirit song that incorporates several different genres of music and several different cultures. That it's very clear at the beginning it's a spiritual song, and then it moves right on into that Delta blues. It's a minor blues, and we bring in the percussion, and you got my dad on saxophone, and then you hear the Shona inspiration, the doom doom duri katsue, and so the bass is playing that, and then I'm clapping on there. So it's one of those songs. It takes you to the core, and that's the intent of it. Not really. That one was particularly influenced by two songs: the traditional Haitian spiritual song, Papa Legba, which starts off the song, and the traditional Shona song. It goes doom doom duri katsue, doom doom duri katsue, and that's where the bass line comes from. And so I just merged those and made a minor blues and threw my dad on there. I said, you know, we're gonna have Mississippi in here, we're gonna have Zimbabwe, we're gonna have Haiti, we having DC up in here. We just threw it all in there. I mean, that's Akua, that's who I am.
So sing my song.
Soul Singer, yes. Yeah, that one actually, that's what the album is called, Soul Singer. And funny enough, that was one of the last songs I wrote was Soul Singer. And I had this bass line in my head, and I was like, man, you know what, this is really who I am. I'm singing from my spirit, and my intent is to speak to other people's spirits and to speak to their soul. And so, and that's what artists do. So you'll hear the lyrics, it says, soul singer, sing your song. You don't know how long people have been waiting for you to say what you're saying. And it says, soul speaker, let it come through your hands. And I'm talking about the drummers, I'm talking about the bass players, I'm talking about the painters. You know, that's who we are. Artists are soul speakers. And so that's where Soul Singer came from.
What was it like to work with Nicholas Payton on that song?
Oh my God, Nicholas Payton. He is such a cool cat, man. And he was so receptive to participating on this album with me. And I'm still really grateful and in awe that he believes in the project. And I shot him a couple of the tunes that I wanted him to play on, and he killed it. He killed it. We were able to do I Can't Stand the Rain, the remake, and Peebles. And man, did he put his foot in that solo. I didn't even know what to do. His horn playing and his keys, I wasn't expecting all of that. And that, I think, is what really humbled me about the experience with Nicholas Payton, is that he put his whole spirit into the work that he did. And that's really inspirational to me as an artist. You know, if you're gonna do it good. So yeah, he's such a cool cat, man. Sweet Descent, another love song. You know, I'm a believer that you gotta speak to people's emotions on every level. You know, we're so multifaceted as human beings, and Sweet Descent is really talking about the moving into love process. I hate saying falling in love, because I think we make an active choice to step into love, and that's that sweet descent. And oftentimes it's really scary to move into that place with somebody. So I kind of put myself in that place where you're moving into love with someone. So it's a sweet place.
Ay, 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 yo. Ay, 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 ay.
Lost in translation. Ay, 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 yo. Oh man, it's another sweet song. It's that one is definitely inspired and dedicated to my husband, because I can be a knucklehead sometimes. And I'm always saying, you know, please just don't let me get lost in translation. I love you. I can be crazy a little bit sometimes, and I just want you to know that I love you. And it's important. It's important to say that to your loved ones, even through the hard times and through the sweet times. Let us always connect, and let us always remember that we're here with and for each other. The sky is my homage to the universe. I have a love affair with the sky. I am in awe with the sky. My kids are always laughing at me like, "Mom, you really love the sky," because it's like, it's so it makes you feel really small, and it makes your problems feel really small because it's so big, and we are all underneath it. It's our little peek into what's outside of our world, and yeah, sometimes you just have to stop and look and be in awe and see these stars and see the clouds, and so I wanted that song to be very simple and to the point, and so you can hear the words and to kind of hear my inflections and to really hear the ups and downs of my emotions and my awe of the sky. And again, that's that coupling of the bass and the voice. The bass really, to me, is my heart speaking, and so that's what the sky is. It's telling you what I'm feeling about the sky. Oh man, Stand for Freedom is a song that I woke up with, and it says, right in the first few lines, I woke up with a smile on my face and a song in my heart. And I really did. I woke up with that song. I heard the melody, I heard the chords, played it on my piano, and I swear I cried the whole time. And it came out literally in 10 minutes. And I have always been scared to play it for people, but every time I play it, it touches folks. And I think it's because they're feeling exactly what I felt when I wrote it. We live in very scary times. We live in a very convoluted world, and it's important to have freedom songs. And freedom songs, sometimes they gotta hit hard, and they gotta, be sharp. But sometimes they gotta be sweet and hit you right in the heart. And I feel like this one does. And I hope that people hear what I'm saying, that I'm standing for freedom, for my children, for children around the world. I stand up for what's right and what's real and what's good. And it's important to do that. Yes, those are my babies. My Nation House Youth Vocal Ensemble blessed me on that song, and to this day I listen to that song and I cry every time I hear them sing it, because I wrote that song thinking of them, thinking of these children that I helped to teach and I helped to raise, and who they're becoming, what is my contribution to the world, and for them to sing on it, they are representing the future and what's possible. So I stand for freedom because I stand for them. I stand for the future. And if I stand up, so will they. If we all stand up together, we can lift up the world. You can always check me out on my website, www.akuaulrich.com. You can find the album on cdbaby.com, as well as iTunes, Amazon. I'm all over the place. You just look me up on my website, and I update where I'm gonna be, where I'm performing, and how you can check me out and bring me home with you. Yeah, right now I am, me and my production company are producing my tour, the Soul Singer Tour. So I'm currently moving around the country, and I intend to take this international. As artists, we want to spread our word and our energy around the world. So yeah, check me out, Soul Singer, the Soul Singer Tour, and bring me to your town.
Do you remember?